Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I have some new stories for you today. Let's go to the first one, about OP's sister-in-law, who keeps inviting OP's husband's ex to all family gatherings. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment. Backstory. My husband, Jim, 33 male, and I started dating in February 2018, after being long-distance friends for years. We didn't want a long-distance relationship, so he moved in with me right away because I owned a house, 300 miles away from his hometown. We tried for a baby and got pregnant right away, in May 2018. He dated his most recent ex for over 4 years and they lived together, but the last year of their relationship, they weren't intimate, no kids, no assets. Coincidentally, as soon as they broke it off, she began a relationship with a married man. Jim doesn't believe she cheated on him, but that's another story. Jim and ex broke up in September 2017. She made him swear to a pact that they would remain friends. She moved to his hometown from 1,000 miles away to live with him, so she didn't have friends or family in the area. Everyone she knew were his friends and family, so I get that. They got lunch a few times in the winter months before their breakup and the start of our relationship. That was the extent of it. When ex learned of our relationship, she called him crying. He made it public on Facebook, and within minutes she called him. She said he broke their pact and he'd never see her again. She said he was just rushing into something. He was single for 5 months. This is where my problem with ex begins. I honestly didn't care if he hung out with her until this point. I never stopped him. He told me he questioned their friendship because of her character. She was knowingly sleeping with a married man, with the intent of stealing him away from his wife and kids. Jim was not okay with his ex-friend acting this way, and told her that many times. Nonetheless, ex protested our relationship and tried to persuade him not to be with me. She tried manipulating him into feeling guilty about moving on. I feel that she tried to have her cake and eat it too. I took that away from her, somehow. I had met Jim's sister a few times before a big annual party she was throwing at a park in June 2018. I thought she was really nice. I'm kind of shy in big groups of new people, so I didn't talk to her that much. But I could tell she was trying to make me feel comfortable and at home, and I told her I really appreciated it. Friends and extended family always came to her party, and it seemed like everyone always had a good time. This particular year, the party got rained out. Everyone spent the whole time under a park pavilion. Jim's ex was invited, which Jim informed me ahead of time. My initial reaction was, that's weird, but okay. Since his last interaction with his ex was crying about our relationship, it was kind of awkward. It was also awkward that he introduced me to extended family, and then they look over and see his ex with another man, a friend she brought. Jim and I planned on announcing our pregnancy at this party, but he opted to wait because he didn't feel comfortable with his ex there. I assume he didn't want her to cry or cause a scene. So rather than make a happy announcement, we waited until she left and kind of mentioned it to the people that were still there. It was weird. At this point, Jim's sister tells him that I'm family now, so she won't be having ex around anymore. Cool, I appreciate that. It would make things way less awkward, especially considering she didn't even talk to anyone at this party. Jim said hi, but that was it. She talked to his sister for a few minutes. A month or so later, Jim's father informs us ex came over to do some light gardening for him. Jim's dad is very forthright with the fact that he hates this ex. He never liked her. All they did was argue, etc. Jim gets concerned as to why she would even do that for someone she never got along with. He called her and asked, and she said she knew he was alone since he was living with me, and she wanted to help out. Note, we were visiting him every weekend, and I actually weeded and did this gardening the week prior. Jim asked ex to please leave his family alone. She's making him uncomfortable. She said she'll leave his dad alone, but not his sister. That she's too close with her. Remember, his sister said she's done with ex. Well, that's the last we heard of ex until recently when things blew up. Jim and I got married in January and had our baby in February, 1 year after we started dating. My sister-in-law and I have gotten pretty close. We talk on the phone every week or so, and we visited a lot before the baby. Sister-in-law could never have kids, and ever since the birth of our baby, she's been very overbearing. She insults Jim and tells him he doesn't know how to take care of babies, tells him he's self-centered, etc. These insults are completely unwarranted. For example, we were staying with sister-in-law for a weekend. Baby was sleeping in the guest room but woke up crying around midnight. We were all up, hanging out, and sister-in-law basically races me to the room, and before I can do anything, grabs my baby from where he was sleeping. This wakes the baby, since crying in his sleep doesn't necessarily mean he's awake. Jim comes in the room and asks in an even tone, "Did you wake the baby?" Sister-in-law lost it. I took the baby from her, and she stormed out of the room shouting, "Duck you, Jim! You're such a ducking a-hole! How dare you disrespect me? Do you even think before you say this stupid stuff?" She went on and on and on. That's the kind of temper she has with him. A few weeks later, I see a pic sister-in-law is tagged in on Facebook at her new house. They had a party there, and X is clearly in the background. Extended family was there, just like before. My brother-in-law told Jim, yeah, she was there, and everyone was asking why, and I thought it was weird. They've been broken up for a year and a half. We've been together for a year. We're married and have a baby. We had plans to go to a theme park with sister-in-law and brother-in-law. I didn't want to, because sister-in-law offered to watch our baby while we go off on our own. After seeing how possessive she is with our baby, I'm not cool with that. I'm not cool with her insulting my husband's parenting, and I'm not cool with her flipping on him. I told him I'd really rather see her at home and talk to her about all of that. Plus, the X thing. She told us she was done with X, and she lied. Whether or not she intended to, she lied, and I feel that her hanging out with X in family situations is undermining my relationship. I told Jim I didn't want to see sister-in-law at a theme park and ruin everyone's day, because I can't just bite my tongue. I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I feel like this is a situation where I'm still just acting like a doormat. Well, Jim took it upon himself and told his sister, "Hey, my wife feels disrespected by you hanging out with X." This was apparently the wrong thing to do, because she flipped like never before. She screamed, "Duck you!" at the top of her lungs and went off on how he disrespected her by implying she disrespected him. He said, "Can't we just talk about this?" But she just wanted to argue. She told him he's selfish and doesn't think of other people, that she can't just dump on someone who's never done her wrong, that X was in her life first and it's not her fault that I wasn't, that she can't defend her past life to his wife, whatever that means. She said X is nuts, but she's like a daughter to her. I think that's where this is all coming from. Her brother, who she never thought would have kids, had a baby. She can't have a baby. She's losing her mind. Trust me, I understand how it feels to not be able to conceive. That's why Jim and I started right away. I tried for years with an ex and never could get pregnant. It hurt. I knew I wanted to be with Jim, and we're both in our early 30s, so we wanted to try right away since it could take years. We just lucked out. Sister-in-law is going nuts over my baby, and now is acting like she's the mom to X because of the age difference. And X has no family here. X's mom is still very alive, 1,000 miles away. Sister-in-law has now cut us out of her life. I feel bad because brother-in-law is a sweet guy, and Jim really loves him. This argument went down weeks ago and ended with sister-in-law saying no one ever thinks of her, only her husband loves her. Jim never loved her. People always crap on her. Jim reached out to talk it out on the phone, and she's ghosting him. So what have we done? Am I in the wrong here? I just want her to know it makes me uncomfortable to have the ex around extended family, who should all be getting used to me being part of the family. Should I just have bit my tongue, even though my gut is telling me not to? I'm new to standing up for myself. I feel like I've done something incredibly wrong. Guys, I don't really understand all these family friendships with ex-boyfriends, girlfriends, wives, and... Back info. We are both in our mid-20s and have been best friends, inseparable, since we were young children, and our shared social circle is very closely in touch. We always had a very specific, dynamic reputation. In school, I was the class clown who was a mess and unorganized, outgoing, loud, and easygoing, and she, I'll call her Jane, was known as the more introverted, competitive, stubborn, organized, and with her stuff together. We have talked every day for 15 years and were incredibly close. Until a couple months ago, I would have said with certainty she was the only person I could guarantee would take a bullet for me. When we graduated college, I landed a high-paying job that I love and moved into a decent apartment in the city. I have an amazing boyfriend that my friends love, and I got into a part-time master's degree program at a highly ranked university. Jane struggled to find work for years. Just demand for her field is low and the panorama. Eventually taking a job she had no interest in that didn't pay enough, so she lives with her parents. She has always been really insecure about never having a boyfriend, relationship, and because most of our shared friends are in relationships right now, it has become a really sore spot with her. She met someone on a dating app, but were only together for 4 months. It has been 9 months since their breakup, and she is still very upset about it. Our shared friends have gotten very used to her complaining about her life situation, and she has always been a complainer. But I used to think her pessimism was a cute part of our opposites dynamic, and enjoyed finding ways to cheer her up. Looking back, I'm seeing it through a lens of chronic victim complex. Since my friends have made jokes about me being the most successful after all, and being proud of me, our relationship was rocky. Everything blew up when a series of awful events happened in my life, all in the span of 1 month. My mom, we're very close, was diagnosed with an incurable aggressive brain disease. My roommate and close friend attempted S in our apartment, and my college friend and dog both passed away unexpectedly. Everything happening with my mom alone has been the hardest thing I've ever been through, and I've just felt overwhelming anger at the world that this happened to her, and helplessness at not being able to help more than what little I can do. My little sister told me she had always thought of me more as her mom, and it opened this huge anxiety of responsibility for her when I'm not ready to lose my own mom in such a painful way. I was really struggling with my mental health and sort of hit a snapping point when I had a big fight with my boyfriend that was blown up by everything else going on. Everything is fine now. Our mutual friends are amazing, and I'm not known for getting down easy, joking coping mechanism. But they recognized I was really struggling and put in a lot of effort to be there for me and help as much as they could. It got to the point where I was taking multiple anti-anxiety depression meds a day and sleeping meds every night just to make it through, and one of them slept over with me every night when my boyfriend couldn't because of work. Jane started demanding I break up with my boyfriend of 3.5 years over this fight, saying he treated me like dirt, just isn't true, and refused to talk to me about anything else. When I reached out for comfort about my mom or anything, she would always circle back to him, and I was getting frustrated trying to explain that I can't just cut off my long-term boyfriend during this time. His support was crucial for me, and it was ridiculous anyway. And I snapped in front of our friends and said he isn't just some guy I have to beg to talk to me once a week, in reference to a reoccurring argument she had with her ex. I immediately apologized and said that lashing out was not excusable, especially because I knew she was sore over the breakup. She gave me the silent treatment for about 2 weeks, something she knows I really struggle with because of past abuse. And as usual, when she had punished me with the silent treatment in the past, I begged and pleaded for her to talk to me because the anxiety is overwhelming and I just wanted it to be over. Even though this was over something I considered teenage-level petty. I thought of her as more than a sister and was shocked at the whole thing, especially because I needed her more than ever. I tried everything to get her to contact me and was convinced on top of everything I was losing her as well. Our friends even pleaded with her to reach out to me, and I heard she went on a couple rants about how dare I claim I'm having such a hard time when my life was so perfect. I was reduced to a sobbing, wailing mess for hours every day from everything, and when she finally did contact me after 2 weeks of ignoring my messages, calls, it was along the lines of, "Sorry I had a bad couple of weeks at work and didn't feel up to talking to you. Also, I don't think I can ever forgive you for that comment." For some reason after that, my perception of her changed in an instant. Despite unwaveringly loving her for so long, my friends couldn't believe her reaction and confronted her, and she started spinning this weird story about how a few months prior I had intentionally tried to sabotage a relationship she could have formed with a guy that was just so far from true, and I don't think anyone really believed it. I told her I was sorry about that, I guess just to keep everything calm, and she cut me off for another 3 months. But at this point, I was questioning our friendship. Looking back, things seemed very abusive and manipulative, and I never pieced it together until I realized she would go this far. But in the past, she had also put in a lot of effort to damage reputations and be vindictive to people who didn't let her get her way. But that was when we were teenagers, so I thought she outgrew it. She was also so good at convincing me the people she targeted for hurting her deserved it. She always had me working as a mediator to convince people she argued with to give her another chance, and she took pride in never apologizing for anything. My trust in her shattered quickly, and I never wanted to be vulnerable with her again, so figured it was best she said she could never forgive me. She tried to reach out after 3 months of silence when I was just starting to get through some things. She wanted to continue the argument out of nowhere, and during these 3 months, she had started fights with almost all of our mutual friends, and they turned away from her as well. Partly because she wanted them to take sides in what happened between us. I was starting to think maybe she was a narcissist, which is a completely unqualified assumption, but I tried the gray rock technique anyway, because I didn't want to salvage the friendship at this point and was honestly scared of her and how she treated me. I just reiterated my apology, agreed with her, and tried to be as unreactive as possible to get her to drop me. I had assumed she would just cut me out of her life, especially since she led me to believe she would never speak to me again anyway. But she was so persistent in trying to get me to fight with her. She attacked very personal insecurities of mine, tried to use our friends against me, and tried to list out reasons I had been cruel to her over the years and owed her to try and help reconcile our friendship. I made a point to not let her get a rise out of me, but became terrified at just how blatant her need for control over me was. I read online that just sticking with the gray rock technique would make her bored of me. She tried desperately to turn our friends against me when I wouldn't start a huge fight with her, and another friend who she had gone to great lengths to try to alienate from the group years ago reached out to me and told me she had tried her best to steer clear of Jane when she began to suspect she had some mental issues or narcissism. When that didn't work, I found out recently she has contacted 4 of my friends, non-mutual, she's never met them, from college and work, but I don't 100% know why. She matched with my coworker on Tinder, but she lives a long distance away from the city I live and work in, and would have had to specifically set her location here. I saw she connected with my boss on LinkedIn. She tried to text my little sister, who frequently travels up to see me from our hometown because we're very close, to ask if she would deliver a package to me. She sent my boyfriend in pictures on Snapchat. She showed up at his apartment, God knows why, but he locked all the doors and didn't answer. At this point, she seems to be escalating, and I'm really scared. And she sends me daily text messages that just don't make much sense. Sentences aren't complete or missing random words. Her mother called me screaming at me because I'm a horrible person and Jane hadn't come home for 3 days without notice. My friends are also completely shocked, but haven't heard from her in a while, other than the occasional group chat message saying something weirdly normal about the weather or something. I have no idea what to do. I don't even know what I'm dealing with, to be honest. I'm terrified she'll do something to my family or something, but I'm also scared to say something or do something unless that is what triggers her to act. I don't even have any solid evidence of her attempting something specific, other than all of these weird behaviors and a terrible feeling from knowing her for so long. I go back and forth daily, just gaslighting myself, so she doesn't have to, though she tried extensively, that this is really bad, but also that I'm overreacting about it all. And maybe it was just unreasonable to react the way I did to our fight, so I'm driving her crazy. Help! Her trying to contact OP's coworkers is worrying. OP needs to lock down her social media accounts and consider notifying her HR department of the potential threat. I think OP identified that this was a toxic relationship, so I hope she won't go back.